All right, so we've got about 4 minutes before our actual webinar start time, so we still have a little bit to go. John, did you put the boat away yet?
Nope.
Oh, you still got it out? Good for you.
This weekend. Rain or shine.
Good for you. Use it as much as you can.
Probably only one more time in Oregon. That's all right. People in Florida, they like, what do you mean put it away?
Right? We don't do that.
Jeeps, Kathy, come on now. So, no, that's good.
I had to turn on my heater for the very first time here just this last week. It's like, oh, there it goes. I should turn off some of my little distractions. All right. All right. Good morning. We're going to get started here in just a little bit. We have a couple minutes, so I'm going to let everybody kind of get in and get joined. Good morning. We're joining. All right, you guys, as we start this webinar, if I can start off with just a little bit of house cleaning. If people can go ahead and mute themselves in the background, looks like everybody's got their cameras off, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We will be opening up the forum at the very end of this webinar for any questions. So please, if you guys have any questions as we go along here today, go ahead and type them into that chat box, and we'll be sure to get to as many of them as we absolutely can towards the end. So you guys, good morning. Welcome to our webinar call today. My name is Crystal Adams, and I am the director of IllumiTrack software. You guys, over the years, we have sent out surveys to our users. And what's come up over and over again is how do I grow my club faster? And man, I need more marketing support. So you guys, that's exactly what we're doing today. We are going to dive into this, how to take your membership club program really to that next level and turn it into a powerful revenue generator for your business. So you guys, we are going to guide you how to get there today. This isn't going to be a lecture. I want this to be a conversation. And so today we are joined by John Riley. He is the Executive Vice President in Amplify 360. He has 30 years of experience in growing private practices to help them attract more ideal patients and match doctors' clinical skills, just like we have here today with Kathy. So we also have Dr. Kathy Taylor with us today, and her practice is in the top 1% of successful membership club users. So between John's data-driven insights this morning and Kathy's, with his 23 years of helping doctors break through the ceiling and really drive revenue for Dr. Taylor, we want to make sure that, you know, we have the opportunity to have her here today for this discussion. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to Kathy to introduce herself and just share a little bit about your practice. Kathy, would you mind?
Good morning. I'm coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. I have what I consider a small private practice here. I've been in practice about 20 years now. Within the last couple years, I have now an associate, but most of my practice life, I've been a solo practitioner. We have what I consider a very bread and butter family practice. We just focus on doing things well with quality. I wouldn't say I have any fancy specialty offers that I would be sharing with you guys. I really am a general practitioner doing general dentistry for families in the community. And truly, we just focus on relationships and doing small things excellent with consistency.
Thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. John, one thing that we hear all the time from practices is, I'm working really hard, but I'm not seeing the growth that I want. We looked at the numbers across hundreds of offices. John, can you tell us what is really holding offices back from turning their membership club into a real serious revenue generator and driver for their business?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Crystal, for this. As I'm excited for today. And Kathy, you're so sweet to be able to take part in this, since we've been working together since what, 2009, I think it is. Is that right?
Yeah, a long time. Good history.
Something like that. Yeah, no, it's been a fabulous journey. But no, I'd be happy to answer it. Is it first of all, it's where doctors just don't know what's possible, right? So I'll give you a quick example. There's a practice in Oregon. I live in Oregon, and so a practice north of us here, about 45 minutes. I walked into their practice one day, and because we have data, we use data and drive the practice data to be able to make educated decisions. And so I shared with this practice. I had the whole team in front of me, and I had one goal in that meeting, and I'll tell you what that is in just a second. Is when it was all about profitability. First of all, is it helping the doctor and the team increase the profitability and fulfillment of the practice, because they were struggling with as many of you either have experienced or know about or have other doctor friends that are inundated with PPOs. This practice was a high producer, but they weren't high profitable yet. And so I shared with them a screen that we have, a dashboard, and I shared with them, showed them that their membership club patients were producing $2,500 per patient per year. Their cash patients were around $1,600 per patient per year. And then then the big D PPO, I'll say that way, is that they were around $800 per patient per year. One of the teammates said, John, why don't we drop the big D PPO and put all of our cash patients into our club, because that's nearly $1,000 more per patient per year. And I'm like, that is exactly why I'm sitting here today. And that's exactly what they did. They went 100% fee for service, and now their club is over doubled since that time. And that was only in 2021 when that happened. And then the key thing is that their club now is well over $3,000 per active patient. So what that means is the doctor is working less, but doing more per patient. They only work 108 days a year. That's by their choice, but they do extremely well. And this is not a one-off. This is more the norm. The average practice is seeing roughly 15 to 20%. I don't know if you know, Kathy, but yours is actually 16% more revenue per patient when you go from your cash patients to your club. So that's why you're in the top 1%. You get all this, but the key is that it's about helping patients become more healthy. And so what I love to do, it's all about education, is helping doctors to understand what's possible. And if they don't know what's possible, they don't know how to leverage their practice data. That's where we come in as a marketing firm. Is that more than developing a website or Google Ads or social media or whatever? Even though we do all that, it's so much more than that, because it's really about the health of the practice and fulfillment for the doctor and the team.
Thank you, John. Dr. Taylor, I know that you were once in the same spot where you guys were working really hard. This was a while ago, so it was back before you started with us. But you guys were kind of on that same pathway, right? Where you were working really hard, but not really seeing the results that you wanted. Can you share a little bit about what changed when you started treating that membership club program like a true business and growth generator for your business?
So I was definitely in a place where many of you might be, where you are just giving your heart to your patients and you're working to the definition you think is excellent, but it's not profitable. So you're tired and you're frustrated and you question your career choice. So I completely empathize with that. I would say when we started our membership program, and this might sound a little bit more like a soft answer instead of a hard business answer at first, but it actually helped us solidify what we even wanted to be as a practice. So what I'm speaking to is culture of the practice, and solidifying what our mission is, what our goals are. It helped us shift from just this vague concept of let's serve patients to thinking about what services do we have to offer to patients. So the membership did more than just numerically look at a metric. It really helped give some life into the practice to figure out, well, if we're going to have this plan, why are patients going to want to sign on for it? So we had to make sure we were all on the same page about us. This is what you're signing up for. So I would say for anybody who is feeling really drained by the numbers that you want to see coming into the practice and that aren't there, this is an opportunity to maybe utilize something to help you have an energy giver instead of an energy drainer.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% right. You know, the culture change and the adoption throughout the entire practice is so key.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I could add to that, is saying, Kathy, I remember when Amplify 360, the firm that you hired back in 2009 and still are working with, is that I remember when we launched the club in 2013, you were, I don't quote me on, but I think you might be either one of the very first or the first adopter for this, because I knew that you were one that we wanted to really help get out of those nasty PPOs. And I saw the drain on your face. I think you were 90% PPO when we started, and that drain is palatable, right? And yet you're probably one of the kindest people I know on the planet, and I say that publicly to a lot of people. But but because of that, you were nervous about getting out. But I said, here's the deal. Why we created the IllumiTrack software all to begin with is simply because you need a tool to be able to get out. And I know everybody here has IllumiTrack, which I'm excited about. But the key is the trajectory of helping you to get out and stay out. That's the magic. But it started with that foundation of having that right club. Then we can start to drive in that more ideal patients. And that's exactly what we've done for you. And I'm excited that you no longer have that burden on your face. Yes.
Great. I am too.
And just to kind of back up on that, Kathy, when you were first growing, did you ever feel like marketing was a gamble for you? Or did you, what changed once you had the right strategy in place with John and you guys kind of meshed your roles and your worlds together?
So I'm not sure I would use the term gamble, although I totally know what you mean by that. I would say, in all sincerity, expensive strategy. I know expensive is relative, and this is really where John helped me understand why doing important things can cost a certain level. I was very uncomfortable with things at first. I'm a very slow mover. I am uncomfortable.
I remember that.
So it was really great to have John in my ear helping me know what's possible, because I didn't know. How could I know? I was locked into my tiny practice morning to night, and I just legit did not know. So he really was instrumental. I think, at least in my memory, John, I think the big victory came when I locked into understanding branding of the practice. I was very ignorant about that. And so going through the process of actually branding the practice, in hindsight now, was really eye-opening and meaningful. And then, of course, once we had a brand, then y'all did a great job coaching me on why we need to market the brand.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you just hit on something too, is that you mentioned the word expensive. And I love when doctors share that, is because oftentimes they see marketing, quote unquote, as expensive, but yet what they when like I met a doctor in Chicago at Chicago midwinter. He was walking by our booth, and he says he looked over and he goes, "Oh, marketing, I don't need that." And I go, "Oh, so you're 100% fee for service?" And he goes, "Oh, no, that's the problem." And I go, "What's the problem?" He goes, "Oh, we're about 80 to 90% PPO. We write off about $500,000 to $600,000 a year." Well, he's not alone, because the average single doctor is writing off $403,000. Now, a lot of doctors go, "I don't know what I write off," and so I just, kind of close my eyes. I just look at collections numbers. But the situation is this: there's a cost to PPOs, and the average is $403,000 a year. Well, that's a $34,000 a month in marketing for PPO patients, right? And then I've never really looked at it that way. So if you want to talk expensive, is that's where it's expensive to have a non-ideal patient for these PPO patients. Where I always love to help doctors is that, and when we started talking, is that helping you to break free of those PPOs, and we do it at your pace, like we did for you, Kathy, is that we do it however long or short that you want to take. And but the average doctor is writing off $33,000. We want to say, let's put 80% of that in your pocket, right? Where you don't have that now. And that's exactly what we've done for you and for hundreds and hundreds of others. So a lot of fun.
And if I can just add to that, that was scary. It was legit scary to do that. But this is, again, why it's nice to have wise voices in your ear, because when you were able to clearly show me what I was working so hard for and not getting.
Right. Right.
Okay, it does make you think a little bit. My brain was attaching faces to those people with insurance.
Exactly.
The heart and emotion of things, which is good. Obviously, we're in patient care because we care, but then I started realizing, well, I have to care more about my team and my family. And I was then much more ready to make the needed changes.
Well, and the key thing is when you did that, the last thing I'll say is this: your practice didn't fall out from underneath you, did it?
No, not at all.
That's what the fear is, right? The fear is I'm going to lose everybody on X, Y, or Z PPO plan, right? But if it's done properly, like the average doctor loses roughly 15 to 30% of patients. But here's the key: is for everybody that's listening, that they just now the hair on the back of their head just stood up, on the back of their neck stood up, like, oh my gosh, I can't afford that. But the key is, if it's done properly, you're not going to lose that in collections. And that's exactly what happened with you, Kathy. You lost a few patients, but those patients weren't really there for an excellent clinical doctor. You were enabling them to get the best clinical doctor in the planet, but yet pay the cheapest amount of fees for your clinical excellence, right? And then when we switched that, a few patients that were looking for that cheap dentistry, they left. They weren't good patients, but your great patients stayed, but your collections increased. And that's what I'm excited about to share. Any doctor, and talk with them nearly daily, that they're crippled with that. And one other quick fact is, this year, 2025, there is one out of 3 doctors are getting out of some type of PPO today. The ADA says 36% of, it's actually over 33%, 36% of doctors today are getting out of some type of insurance. When the ADA says that, it's a real deal, because they don't want to do that with the insurance board, some of the insurance people on their board. And so,
And Kathy, you kind of hit something right on the head. A lot of dentists, they want to help their communities, right? And so they feel like they need to keep their fees at a certain level so that they can be helpful to their communities and provide this level of care. But the problem is that you can't help anybody if you're struggling yourself, right? You can't provide and give back if you don't have any, if you're struggling just to keep your head afloat. Offices that have the margins that they need are allowed to do things like free sealant days. They can open their doors up to the community, and they're missing that kind of piece. And it's not doing anybody any good just to be on the hamster wheel and struggling.
Right.
And I think most dentists have a heart to give back. I think our field attracts that. And at least for me in my practice, and I'm sure for many doctors across the country, having good team members and keeping good team members, that is something where if I'm doing well in the practice, that passes on to the team. And obviously that encourages retention and loyalty.
Yep, 100%. I myself was a dental assistant for 20 years, so I sat chairside. And so I made these decisions as well. If I had an interview in one place that had paper charts and carpet in their central sterilization area, and then my very next interview was in a state-of-the-art facility, where am I going to work? Where do I want to spend my time? Well, you're going to attract the type of, if you want a top-level 20-year dental assistant, that's got to match the environment, right?
Right. Well,
and maybe, John, you told me this. Maybe this was your wisdom that I've hung on to all these years. But when I was first dropping insurance, I was in that fear mode. And I'm pretty sure it was you who told me an example of 2 places of hair cutting setting up shop. And the one said $5 haircuts, and the other guy was like, how am I going to keep pace with $5 haircuts? Mine are $20. Until he put the sign in the window that said, I fix $5 haircuts.
It's exactly it. Well, and you just nailed too, is that on that note, along with what you just talked about, as far as you want to contribute to the community, right? Many doctors do. It reminds me of what we've trained you and countless doctors on, is the 6 human needs from Tony Robbins. It's such a fabulous piece. Is certainty, growth, contribution, connection, significance. There's every doctor has all of those needs at some point. Some rise to the top at different levels, but that where they want to be more of a philanthropist. They want to help out the community, or they want to travel more, and they want to help out their family or their team's families, right? They want to do more things that they know they've been either gifted to do, but they just don't know how to get, break through that ceiling. And that's what, it's fun to help bring alive.
Well, speaking of which, John, one of the things that we know is that the average case acceptance for practices is usually under 50% of an acceptance rate.
Mm-hmm.
What should offices really be aiming for? What's healthy?
That's a great question. So So that 50% or that close to target is more general dentistry target. On bigger cases over 10,000, it's lower, as you would expect. It's, you know, the target that we try to help our doctors do is roughly 33-34% for big cases over 10,000. Well, the core difference is that what we've analyzed, and we've been you know, doing this now for 30 years. I've been able to be blessed to be with the same exact company for 23 years, and they have me every day. I'm just honored and blessed to be able to do that. But the thing of it is that what we see with practices today that struggle in this area is oftentimes they educate, and if the patient doesn't accept, they educate even more, right? And it's this kind of paralysis by education, right? Versus what we train our doctors to do is that we train our doctors to really make sure that they're ideal patients. So we partner with Paul Homley. Many of you know Paul Homley, one of the greatest case acceptance communicators on the planet. And you know, in this area, because so many of our practices struggle in this, and in that they have this, it's almost like it's a churn, because their relationship is predicated on whether they accept treatment or not. That should never be it, right? It should be their relationship with the patient is irregardless if they accept treatment, right? They should just wait to be ready for when the patient is ready, right? And that's really the one of the big missing components. And then on top of that, helping to understand their ideal patients, how to be heard, felt, VIP, social proof. Social proof says other people have done it, so can I. So helping those patients that are 35 and older, you know, more ideal patients into the boomers and seniors, if you're wanting to do bigger cases like implants, full arch, all-on-X, IV sedation, whatever it is that the doctor is really wanting to focus on. Or is it just more quadrant dentistry, like we've helped Kathy do, quadrant dentistry with family patients? All of the above. It's and Kathy, you and I have had this conversation about what using the Homley philosophy is that left side or right side patients. Is that left side are the patients that need to be educated, but they don't have a lot of dentistry to be done because they're generally healthy, versus the right side patients are patients that are more the ideal patients, but are more like a train wreck, like I was. at 32, I was 6 millimeters deficient on my maxillary arch. I had 3 poorly placed bridges, and I had severe bruxism. And I mean, I was an opportunity for any doctor, but I didn't know it myself until someone educated me, like Philip Freeman, who was my doctor here locally at the time. He educated me on what it really took to have excellent oral health, because again, I didn't know. Taking the time to slow down and actually help the patient to understand this is exactly what you do, and here's the training. So it's a whole thing we call setting the stage for an excellent experience, helping the team, the front office, and the assistants and the hygienists, everybody included, to be able to help them to understand what is it, how do we position the doctor? Because here's the deal: when it comes to marketing, many doctors come to us. Their clinical skill is here, right? They've been trained at Coyce, Dawson, Spear, Mitch, you know, Pankey, all these amazing institutes across the country, but their patient base or team communication is way down here, right? Because they have been inundated with PPOs, right? So this gap is the what's missing is ideal patients. Helping the doctor to how to communicate with those ideal patients and getting more of them. Does that answer your question, Crystal?
Yeah, it absolutely does. You know, to kind of back up on that, Kathy, you have used both the LumiTrack and Amplify 360 to attract new patients and to get them to, you know, convert and say yes to case acceptance. When you tied those two together, what did that do for your ability to keep patients coming back and saying yes to treatment?
So I think that the membership is self-motivating, because when the patients are ready to commit to being on the membership program with us, they're coming to their appointments and they're scheduling ahead for their appointments. So we're not questioning if those patients are going to arrive and commit, because they've already committed to us. Something that Amplify really has done amazing for us with the marketing is the targeted mailers have been an extraordinarily successful marketing approach for my practice. And there was a time in my life where I thought it was odd when a current patient would ask me, "Are you accepting new patients?" Because of course the answer is always yes, always. But
You're not alone.
but about a year or so ago, we got to where we were in a position where we were saying we're taking a pause because we were having such a healthy flow of new patients that we couldn't see them in a timely manner. And I was shocked that we had gotten to that point. It's a blessing and a curse, I suppose, because you always want to have people coming in, but it was a pause. It was a pause for us to like revel in this amazing success and then rebalance. And of course, now we're wanting new patients to come back in, but I just never thought I would get to a point where I would say not right now to that question.
That is awesome. And that's exactly the combination and the pairing that we're looking for is being able to pull in those new patients and then, transition them over into the membership club that's the generation or the tool that we're looking to really drive for sure.
And for any of your listeners who are curious, my practice, our active patients is just a little over 1,900 active patients. And our current IllumiTrack membership is 560 patients, which that's a decent chunk of those active patients.
It absolutely is. Just to kind of point out another area of the business that's important to highlight and churn. John, before you have shared that 20 to 30% of patients are quietly quitting the practice every year on a general practice. What can the doctors on this call do to help stop that churn and to mitigate it a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, is that one thing that we've created is that, again, people are like, I thought you were a marketing firm. Yes, we're a marketing firm, but anytime any doctor that hires us, we want to make sure that back door is closed first. So about 20 years ago, I created a tool. It's a retention calculator, and it's far more than what your Dentrix, EagleSoft, OpenDental, whatever, what they can pull out and show you. Because what we're looking at is the practice holistically, not just hygiene, because hygiene in itself is probably 75 to 85% retention, because the hygienists know where their bread is buttered, right? Where the issue often lies is not in the hygiene area; it's actually in the doctor's column, and here's why. Is that this morsel, it could change practices, right? So if you take away just one thing and you don't hire us, that's fine. But take this and apply this to your practice, you're going to gain. The average doctor is missing $297,000 in retention revenue and doesn't even know it. They don't even know it, and they don't know how to fix it. That's where we can come in to help fix it. We actually discover that before we start. And to be able to say, what kind of revenue do you have the ability to tap into? Well, this retention is actually in the doctor's column the majority of the time, not always. And it's not because the doctor sucks or the doctor doesn't care or anything like that, right? Because if you knew Kathy cares. But what happens is it's a lack of systems. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes the hygienists are scheduling their own appointments in the back. Well, doctors and assistants, sometimes it goes to the front. But then if it's still in the back, which I recommend it to be, is that if you're in the back, the assistant would look to see if let's say if John Riley's sitting in the chair, does John Riley have a future hygiene visit first? Before scheduling that, if I came and I said, hey, Kathy, I'd like to split my 2 crowns because I want to split it over 2 paychecks, let's say. And I want to do the anterior crown today, and I want to do the posterior crown in 5 weeks. Great. But then your assistant would say, okay, John, we see you in 5 weeks. Great. We got that scheduled. But guess what happens if they don't focus on my hygiene appointment? And let's say I don't have a future hygiene appointment booked for some reason. Now, this is the black hole that most doctors go, oh, that's not me. I can tell you out of 1,000 practices that I've analyzed, I could count it on 2 hands how many doctors were over 85% retention. And some of them were close, but many of them were in the 40, 50, 60 percentile range, hence the missing 297,000. Well, the key here, it's about making sure that the patient leaving the practice today, so if you had 20 patients in the practice today, those 20 patients should all leave with a future hygiene visit. That's the key. So if you do one thing and you hear one thing out of this, great, apply that. But we actually have a full system. We do it through the huddle that will give you a very streamlined process. Is becoming a client of Amplify 360. The very first thing that we do is make sure the back door is closed. Why? Because if you're attracting 20, 25, 30, or if you have 2 or 3 doctors, then it's going to be more than that. How many patients, new patients you're attracting every month? If you're not at 85% retention, in 5 years, that could turn into $2 and $3 million of loss just in not keeping new patients, let alone existing patients in your practice. That helps.
Yes, thank you, John. One of the things, Kathy, that I've talked to over the years with you in your practice is that you've been able to cut your clinical days back, but yet you've grown your revenue at the same exact time. Can you talk to how your membership club has been a part of making that possible?
So there's been a lot of different reasons that went into choosing to cut back a little bit, but the membership program just starts to run itself. It's just consistently there. And like I alluded to earlier, we have a really great retention rate too for our patients and their recare. And so when we have our membership patients scheduled for their 6, 12, 18-month recare appointments, which most of our patients are doing, they're booking 1 to 2, if not 3 visits ahead of time because they're members and they want to make sure they're getting their membership benefits. So it's the consistency that the membership program brings. It's going to attract people who value the service you're offering and who want it. So knowing that is just quietly running in the background is wonderful.
That's awesome. Kind of helps give you a little peace of mind, right? To be able to take and make those different decisions for your business.
Well, and I'd add one other thing to that, Kathy, is that what you do really, really well with your club is that you use it as a case acceptance tool, not a discount plan, right? Mm-hmm. It's truly there to benefit your loyal patients to do that. And so partnering with us when it comes from marketing, you're attracting a new patient that comes in, and then you're using that as a tool. So the marketing and the club and how you guys use it as a case acceptance tool, those two work really, really well together. It's why you're up 16% when a cash patient goes into your club, is because you're using it properly just for that. And then ultimately with the influx of new patients that we're attracting for your practice, and your team is really good at converting them, that's where the magic happens. It's not just one thing, it's multiple things. Is that we like to partner and cheat with just the best clinical doctors.
I'll add to that too, John, and you again were really helpful in this is scripting that the team learns, and that the doctors listening, that the team understands how you want things to be said. That is huge because discount plan is not have a really great ring to it.
No, and it is, right? Yeah, absolutely.
I love that point out. It's important that it's a VIP club or something that they can feel like they're being a part of, right? Because that's what gets them coming back and creates the loyalty to your patient base. Exactly.
Well, and you just nailed on to something, the VIP club, Crystal, is that the reason why, so Amplify 360 back in 2009, the bubble burst, the real estate bubble burst, doctors were frustrated with profitability, cash flow. They're tired of PPOs because now with the cash flow crunch of what's going on with the real estate bubble, that it even hurt them even worse when they're writing off 30-40% to those PPOs. We decided, so myself and 3 others said, and Tyson Steele, our founder, said, it was his brainchild. He said, we need to create a software that helps our marketing clients to get out and stay out of insurance. Well, the reason why I share that is because it was never intended as a discount club. It was always intended to help patients get healthier, right? And it goes back to, again, I know I said it a couple of times, but that goes back to your patients, Kathy, that you're able to render 16% more per patient with any patient goes into the club. Literally over that next year, you're gonna render 16% more, and that's substantial. It's nearly $1,000 more per patient, which is substantial. So then what happens is that now the patients are first getting healthy. If the patients win first, then you win, and then we win. It has to be in that order.
It's a good call out. Kind of talking to a little bit about what Kathy was talking about earlier with the right patients. What are some examples, John, of some practices that have stopped doing any dentistry that walked through the front door and instead really built a business on dentistry that they enjoy doing, right?
Oh gosh.
Cool to do instead of the PPO circle.
Yeah, no, this is the joy, right? This is where we get to help doctors uncover and help them to discover what's really possible. And I'll give you a quick example. Paul Homley had referred one of his clients to us, and this is back in May of 2022. The doctor calls me up, and I'm gonna now, and they've allowed me to share all of their information and name and everything. So Dr. Sammy Youssef, he's the doctor out of Connecticut. So it's a 2-doctor, 2-location practice. They were writing off $1 million a year. Okay. So when you talk about just allowing whatever comes in the front door, he'd done it for 30 years. He called me up, and if I could be, I was on video with him, and he's like, why are your arms crossed, Sammy? And why are you a little bit grouse? Now, I'm a very relatable, personable individual. I want to know the person behind, the scrubs, right? And he was like, John, I'm just so tired. I've been practicing for 30 years. I'm one of the best clinical doctors. He's not egocentric at all. He's not that at all. But he's been trained by Pankey, and he is a highly rated Pankey doc. And he goes, I'm not seeing any of those types of patients. Just what's coming through the door because of what's coming through from an insurance standpoint. I'm tired of it. I'm going to sell in 2 years. And I said, okay, Sammy, here's the deal. If you give us mentally those 2 years, so you're not under contract for 2 years, right? But you mentally tell your team that for the next 2 years, we're going to do everything that Amplify 360 says to be able to get out. Because I go, here's the deal. If you gave it 2 years and you gave Amplify 360 your best effort to apply what we talk about, and in 2 years, you're going to have a hard decision to make. And he goes, what's that, John? Like, he was a little bit put off, right? And he goes, what's that, John? I said, well, you're going to be 100% fee for service. And before you sell, you're going to have a tough decision. Do I really want to sell? Right. And he goes, well, he kind of perked up, and he was like, well, I'd like to make that decision. So true story. Is so fun. I mean, all the stories I tell are true because it's who we are. But it was so fun, and now it's fun because it wasn't fun when we started. Because why? He was writing off $1 million a year. That was May 1st when we launched this campaign, May 1st of 2022. So a little over 3 years ago, and 3.5 years ago or so. And in the next 14 months, he was no longer writing off $1 million, right? Between he and his partner, they were equally writing off 500,000. So I want to kind of put this into perspective. Is that I always take out my handy dandy calculator, $1 million, divide that by 12. That the practice was writing off $83,000 a month in PPO marketing, right? So that's the patients who were coming through the door. The doctor was just fed up. He was seeing way too many, both of them were seeing way too many patients. They weren't doing their Pankey style of practice. Now, this is not everybody. Not everybody has a Pankey or Dawson or Mish or Coyce or whatever, Spear, doesn't matter. But the level of excellence of what you want to do, doctor, if that's not what you're doing, you can get put in control, and no longer does the insurance company. Now, the insurance company would say, nope, you have these golden handcuffs. You're always going to be in those, right? And so that's what they want you to think, because they don't want you to leave. Well, we know that they're fighting back, and they're trying to do more and more and more. They're trying to create their own, different stuff that they're trying to make it look like it's profitable for you, but it's not, right? The doctor loses and the patient loses. So going back to Sammy, is that it was July of 2023, 14 months later. Now we don't have a time frame that every doctor is going to get out, because Kathy, I think for you it took 2.5, 3 years for you to be able to do it at your pace, right?
Yeah.
And we'll do it at any doctor's pace. It doesn't matter, right? It's what the doctor wants. We don't have a cookie cutter approach. Well, this particular practice, he's like, John, I will get out as fast as you guys are willing to get out. It's like, okay, as long as you apply what we're going to do. We don't generally start to get out even in the first 6 months. Why? Because we need to be able to build up more ideal patients, make the doctor or the team uncomfortable with the number of quality patients coming in that are now going toe to toe with your PPO patients as far as time in the schedule. Now, when you don't have any room, now the doctor has the ability to pull the lever, because we leverage practice data. We help the doctor to be able to see what type of revenue, just like that practice I visited in person, that they were missing $1,000 per active patient with their cash patients to their club, but they were missing over $1,200 or $1,300 per patient from the big D PPO to their club patients. That's when they go, I get it, because they saw their own data, because of what we call our practice analysis tool. We have multiple proprietary softwares, and we use these softwares at no charge for anybody that's listening here today. You guys can get this if you have Open Dental, EagleSoft, or Dentrix. Those are the three that we can service right now. We're always adding more, but with those three, if you have those, we can do some expanded analysis. We don't need those three. If you have SoftDen or other softwares, you don't need those to work with us, because we didn't have this when we started with Kathy. And when she started to grow, we didn't have any of these softwares. We actually created these softwares in 2022 and 2023. So these are all new additions that, again, we don't charge for, but because you're on this, you're not going to pay for those if you have one of those softwares. Last thing is that Dr. Sammy, I said, Sammy, so I have a question for you. Now, it was May of 2023, so 14 months later. I said, so I have a question. He goes, like, I know what you're going to ask, John. And I said, what's that? And he goes, am I going to sell? And I go, yes, that's the question. He goes, like, why would I sell? Like, well, you are so grouse, and I say that with all due respect. I love Sammy. He's one of my favorites, like Kathy, and they all become our friends and family because of how much we do for them. But it's and ultimately we learn from every practice that we start with. So from a marketing standpoint, we always grow as a company, and then ultimately referrals happen because of that, because Dr. Sammy and Dr. Joe or Kathy or whomever it is refer other doctors to us because of that result. Well, in this process is that I said, so now you're not going to sell. Now what are you going to do? And he's like, John, I'm going back to Pankey, focusing on full arch dentistry. Can you help to market for that type of case? Absolutely. That's exactly what we're doing. So we don't have a one size fits all campaign, because we shared Kathy, family, Crown and Bridge dentistry. Excellent. That's a giant large. That's really good English. It's a large portion of our doctors that are family Crown and Bridge practices. We love working with family Crown and Bridge practices. There's a 15 to 20% of the practices want to do more implants, more full arch, more all-on-X cases, or IV sedation cases, whatever. Great, we can help to target those types of patients, and that's exactly what we've done for Sammy. So I hope that was an example that you were looking for, Crystal.
I always love your examples, John. You have so many to share, and it goes to prove, right, that it's not just one doctor. I mean, we have Kathy Taylor on the call today. The examples you've shared, I've personally seen it happening, in different events.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly why I get up and do what I do every day, is because I love to see the impact that we can make with our offices and furthermore, patients. So this is a question for both of you guys. If a doctor is listening today and they're tired of the grind, but they're not growing, what is the right time to start taking marketing seriously as a partner to their membership club?
I'm going to have you answer that first, Kathy, because this is a great question for you.
So let me just say that I have been in a place where I was ready to throw a match on the practice and just watch it burn and open an ice cream shop. so I can get,
I remember that pain, but yeah, no, it's not funny. Now it can
now
be.
it's funny, but
Yeah.
at the time it was some serious consideration of that. So if I will just go back to what my own life circumstances were, is just caring so much and being so tired of caring so much and not seeing how that was benefiting me or my team and my family. So to give yourself all day, every day to your dental family, your dental patients, and then you realize that for many of those patients, they're going to leave you the minute that you're not doing something they want, which is not how we want to think. We want to think they're loyal. Membership programs show loyalty. And so you're attracting the patients who are wanting you. Your team is great. Your team helps make you you, but you are the person that the patient is coming to see. So patients are willing, the good patients, the ideal patients, the patients y'all are probably wanting to attract. A membership program helps you retain loyal patients. I can only say good things about what IllumiTrack and Amplify have done for me. Literally changed the trajectory of my practice, helped me. I thought going fee for service was an impossible mountain to climb. And in hindsight, I probably would have moved a little faster, but John was very patient because I was a nervous wreck about doing it. But you don't know what you don't know. And how do you know what problems to solve if you don't even know what your problems are? And your head is in a patient's mouth all day long. When do you have time to pause and sit and think about these things? Like on the weekend when you're tired? No, that's when you should be with your family. So hiring good people who have longevity behind them and can give you so many examples of people who are exactly in your same set of circumstances and can clearly show you, hey, this is where this person was, this is where you want to be, let me show you how to make this happen. And the company is very good about holding your hand when you want your hand held. And it's just been an incredibly smart move for me in my practice life.
Thank you for that, Kathy. It's been such a pleasure to see you grow your membership club in the background and support the growth of it. So it's been just as fun for us over here as it has on your side of things. John, what's your insights to that question?
Yeah, it's so when it comes down to it, is that it's understanding what's possible, right? Is that the ability for a practice to be able to what do they need to do? Well, I'll tell you real quick, is that any doctor that's listening, is that we want to basically understand what your pain points are, where you've come from, where you're at, and where you want to go. And that's exactly what we did with Kathy back in 2009, is it discovered the gap, right? Because oftentimes, remember that, doctor's clinical skill is here and their team communication or their patient base is here. And so there's the gap. This is where we can really come in and help and figure out, what are your goals? Where do you want to be? Because there's not two practices that are the same. And so in that is that we'd be willing to do what we call a practice growth call for anybody listening. And this practice growth call is roughly about a half hour, 45 minutes. And if you need a little more time, great, we can make it up to about an hour. But that process, we get to know about you get to know about us. And then from there, then we go into what we call a marketing roadmap. And that roadmap is going to be that it's a separate call. That roadmap is a process where we develop a strategic marketing strategy, a growth strategy for your practice that's tailored to fit you. It's much like a treatment plan. You guys aren't here to sell me crowns and bridges and implants. And Kathy, I know that you that's not how you operate, right? You're not here just to sell me whatever you have to offer. Well, that's the same with us. We're not here to sell you a website or Google or pay-per-click ads or whatever else we're going to do for you. Even though we do those things like direct marketing, like Kathy was talking about, we do everything. There's nothing that we don't do, but we tailor it to fit your needs, right? That's exactly how you operate, and that's exactly how we operate. So when we talk about this practice growth call, you're not going to get hard sold on anything. Lori, Colin, Duke, we're all here to help you. We're here to figure out what is it going to take to be able to take you to that next level, really break through that ceiling of complexity. And this practice growth call is really the start of it. Doctors learn a ton about their practice, about what's possible, their community, how that can really, if you're exiting in the next 5 years, or you're new out of school and you just acquired your first new practice, and you just don't know what can be possible. This is where we'll share a bunch of different case studies and testimonials of doctors that, much like you in your situation, how we do that in that practice growth call. And at best, you're going to learn a lot, or at worst, you're going to learn a lot. At best, you're going to discover what you can do to really take your practice to the next level if you apply it. So this is what is very exciting for us to do, is to help educate. We're all about education, just like you guys are.
Thank you so much, John. That kind of concludes the end here. I want to make sure that we still have enough time to address any of the questions that came through the chat. So let's go ahead and take a couple of minutes and see what we can find in our chat box here for questions. All right. Nope. Let's see. First question for John. It says, I've used several marketing firms in the past, but how does Amplify 360 differ from other firms?
Well, I know that they asked for me, but I'd actually start with, if it's okay with you, Kathy, I want to put you on the spot. You didn't know I was going to ask you this. Is that what's different in us from us than other firms that you've worked with before? I know this goes back, a little while, but what's different in us? And I'll add to that.
I think the difference was the not cookie cutter approach. So it was
and I would agree.
It was a very intentional time of discovery for what is it I'm even trying to gain and get to, which I was trying to discover what I was trying to get to. So it was definitely not cookie cutter. I mean, very, very individualized to what I needed.
Absolutely. Well, you nailed it too. The key is much like how a treatment plan, not everybody gets crowns or bridges. It's really what needs to take place to get that patient healthy. It's exactly how we look at each and every practice. But there's two core different types of practices out there. One is what I call a product-based marketing firm. If they're a website, pay-per-click ads, and an SEO company, and you need more new patients, doctor, what do you think that company is going to sell you, right? Website, SEO, and pay-per-click ads, right? Because that's all they have to offer. Well, we are what we call tactic agnostic. So we don't, even though we do everything in marketing, if you can think of it in marketing, we do it. I mean, there's so many things, different things that we do, like IP address targeting. We can tell who is buying dentistry on a phone or a laptop, and we can delineate between the two and then target the phone or the laptop, just like how we all buy stuff online. That's exactly how they target individuals to sell their products or services. Same thing for what we do to help promote our practices. But in the end, it's really about two core things: is that we're tactic agnostic. We don't care what we're doing for you. It just has to drive the right type of ideal patient in the door. The difference between a doctor that's frustrated with their practice, overwhelmed, and goes home every night just exhausted and tired and frustrated with their practice, and the practice that is being able to take off more time and do more things that they love, along with enjoying their practice while they're there, is the one core thing is they're missing ideal patients, right? So everything we do is targeting more ideal patients. It's not like a magic switch where everybody's going to come walking in, like a robot, like I'm an ideal patient. It doesn't happen that way, but it happens over time that we're targeting that. And so the difference between a product-based marketing firm and Amplify 360 is Amplify 360, even though they have all the different, I'll use that word, products, it doesn't mean that that's what makes us who we are, and like how we guided Kathy to be in the top 1% of membership clubs in the country, how we've helped literally thousands of practices. We have a sampling as a company since 1995. We've collectively, since that 30 years, we've helped over 10,000 practices. I've personally helped over 1,000 practices, and you talk with Lori or Duke or Colin, they're going to say they're going to have results where they have helped so many countless practices to be able to tap through and break through that ceiling by engaging them in the right ideal plan, marketing strategy. And so that's where the difference between us is that we don't have something to sell you. We're here to, what's it going to take to get the practice healthy? And that's the marketing strategy that we're going to do that. And on top of that, close the back door, help you with your PPOs if that's where you want to go, really educate and advise you along the way, because it's our client success managers are one of the golden tickets here, is that every 30 days, you're going to have a 30-minute call with our client success managers to be able to help to make sure that we're always navigating towards your big picture goals. And that's how Sammy got out. That's how Kathy got out of those nasty PPOs. And if you're a fee-for-service practice, we still have a lot of practices, 10-15% of our practices are coming to us are fee-for-service. It's a smaller group because there's not as many of you, but it's still the difference in what you have now and what you could have is that gap of ideal patients, and we can help out with that.
John, that was a fabulous answer. And the reason is because there's two other questions that are sitting here that you answered in that first question. So,
well, great. That's awesome.
the other question was, how does Amplify help with patient churn? You answered that. And also, if they want to go PPOs, how long does it take, and what's the process there? And so I think you went over that as well in that one answer and summed it all up for us.
There you go. And those are great questions, and I'm glad that they asked, because it's really about making sure that you're in growth mode, right? Growth minded mode, that you'll learn with us. We have this whole process we call the 4 phases of practice mastery. You'll learn all about it. I won't get into it today, but it's a process or a journey that every single doctor is on, and it becomes what we call predictable success. Because if you don't have predictable success right now, you're probably working with what I'll just call a product-based marketing firm, which is 98% of firms out there. This is how Kathy came to us, and how Sammy and Joe came to us, and countless others, because they were buying a product and thinking that was strategic, but it was far from it.
Yep. Well, you guys, with that, if you guys are ready to stop working harder and start growing a little bit smarter with John, type in that PGC into the chat. Make sure that you schedule a little call with John. He's here to help you guys grow, and the entire Amplify 360 team. Kathy, thank you so much for your time with us today.
Yes, Kathy.
My pleasure.
You're amazing.
So with that, we are out for this webinar. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. And we will be following up. Any questions that we missed, we'll follow up via email. All right, everybody.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks,
You're a
guys.
treasure.
Stay there.
See you, everyone.